being efficient, executing, shooting for those big goals is predicated on your actions. Do you take an extra long lunch from jury duty to say, you know what, cool, I'm gonna chill. Try to cram as much in. So many of you that actually want this, have the skills to do this, right? And sometimes once in a while, just need to see a different version of it to understand, right? To me, this is an video, right? Did you mail it in? Did you mail in that 15 minute call got canceled? You had a packed day, 15-hour day. It got canceled. What are you doing in that 15 minutes? And by the way, sometimes those 15 minutes are absolutely worth calling your mom, calling your daughter, FaceTime with your kids, but it's just making every minute count. Every minute has to count. Every minute has to count if you want so much, because you just don't have as many of them as you think. You just don't.
If you're going to get in the zone, if you're going to do fourth quarter living, you got to be comfortable with hitting the wall. If I got any runners out there, any fighters out there, any athletes out there, anybody that's ever stretched the limits, you know that in order to get to the zone, you got to hit that wall first. You got to hit that brick wall first. What does that mean? You got to get to a place in your life where all your strength is gone and you're no longer operating on strength, but now you begin to operate on will. You get, listen to me, you get to a place where you're not, it's not this no more. It's not your strength. It's not your natural strength. You are for will. And many of you, I declare right now, many of you have never gotten a will. You've never operated on will. And so you got to hit the wall. And what I mean by hitting the wall is if I run for 30 minutes, right? If I run for 30 minutes, I got to say to myself, every time you run, Eric, you got to get to 35 now. You got to go 5 more. Once I get to 30, my body say, yo, E.T., let's stop. Because the last 5 days we did 30. We did 30, Eric. It's time to stop. We did 30 minutes, and what I got to do is I got to push it to the limits. I got to push it to the limit. I got to be willing to hit the wall. I got to be willing to get past crying. I got to be willing to get past hunger. I got to get past self-defeat, saying you can't do it. I got to be willing to get past a low self-esteem and say I deserve it. If anybody else deserves it, I deserve it. It's mine. Listen to me. You got to be willing to hit that wall. And for most of you, when you get to that wall, you give up, you quit. You got to get to the place where you can hit the wall.
There is a system. There is an orbit that you've been functioning in, and that most of the people around you contribute to. There's a social construct that contributes to you coming back down again. That defines you. And people are comfortable with you. They don't mind you leaping up every now and then, as long as you come back down with us. In fact, people only hate on you when you try to get away. As long as you come back down and fit back in the system, people don't have no trouble with you. But the moment you pack up your bags and say, see you, wouldn't want to be here, I'm out of here, people have a problem with that because you're leaving the orbit. And you're going to have to break the gravitational pull. You're going to spread your wings and you're going to sail into your destiny. There's a reason you survived. There's a reason you endured. There's a reason that you cried but didn't faint. That you crawled but you didn't collapse. That you fell down but you weren't shattered. You're a new person, but before you walk out of that door, you gotta have a new mind. You cannot believe the old labels. I want you to stop speaking negativity over yourself. You are an answer. Walk like it, talk like it, plan like it. The world will change their opinion about you the day after you do.
We live in a world that we want to be as comfortable as we can. And we wonder why we have no growth. We wonder why when the smallest thing in our life gets difficult, we wonder why we cower and we run away. Because we are kind of living our whole life is set up that way. Our whole life is set up in the path of least resistance. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to feel discomfort. So the whole time we're living our lives in a very comfortable area. There's no growth in that.
People who live with either anxiety or things that are not complete have not yet made a decision to move on. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, or anybody is struggling with, you're probably really frustrated with yourself because you know what to do to lose weight, but you can't make yourself do it. You know what you need to do in order to grow your business, but you can't make yourself do it. And so I was stuck in that extraordinarily, I think, human experience where I knew I should get up on time. I knew I should look for a job. I knew I should be supportive of Chris. I knew I shouldn't drink at night. I knew that I shouldn't isolate myself. I knew I should go see a therapist. I wasn't doing any of it.
We knew we had to make it happen. Not getting it done was not an option. We had to make it happen. And it was hard, and we didn't know what to do every day. But when a door would close, we'd find a window. You've got to win. You got to take responsibility for where you're at. You got, sometimes even if it's not your fault, and then you got to go get after it.
If you are somebody that is sitting around waiting for some external force to come and do the work for you, that is such a losing bet, it's unbelievable. Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe somebody will come, but more than likely, no one is coming. The only kind of force that will truly create change in your life is you. The internal kind of force. I hate to say it, but for those of you that feel really, really stuck, and you keep thinking that somebody's got to pick me, or somebody's going to discover me, or somebody's got to give me permission to write this book. It's ridiculous. This is external versus internal force. And what you have to figure out if you're stuck is, are you the kind of person that is guilty of needing, wanting, and waiting for external forces, people, an event, some outside force to kick you in the ass so that you'll finally do the stuff that you've been dreaming about doing? I want to tell you something. No one's coming. No one.
Was very uncomfortable was being on a diet. Was very uncomfortable was trying to face things that I didn't want to face. And I also realized when I was really big, I had no growth. Why? Because I was living comfortable. So I realized for me to find growth, I had to face all these different things that made me very, very uncomfortable. One thing I faced was running. I absolutely hated running. But I knew for me to grow, I had to do this thing every single day. I wanted to start callousing my mind. I wanted to start becoming a better person. And how you become a better person, how you gain mental toughness, how you become the person you want to be, is constantly facing the things that you don't want to face.
Every one of us has an internal fuel tank that is either empty or full. And if you're empty, you feel depleted. If you're full, you feel energized. If you're lying in bed and the snooze alarm goes, or the alarm goes off, and you feel depleted, and you start reaching for the snooze button, that's a really big sign that you need to get out of bed.
You know, every day on the right side of the grass is a good day. And the older you get in life, the more you learn to appreciate just every day you feel good. Every day that you get up and your feet hit the floor and you're still moving forward. Enjoy every day. Cherish every moment. Tell people you love them. Enjoy your life. Act the way you want to feel, and soon you'll feel the way you act. Life is short. Life is precious. What are you waiting on to get happy? Have an attitude of gratitude. Be thankful for each day. and not just one time a year. Carry that feeling throughout the year.
I believe this is my due season year. This is my year to accomplish dreams, to break free from this depression. This is my year to meet the right people. This is my year to get healthy and whole.
Anything you want, you can get, but you have to be honest about it. And this is really what I encourage people to do. In order to be successful at anything, it has to be what you truly love. Because if you don't love it and you ain't willing to die for it, don't do it, right? Sometimes you have to do these transitional jobs to get to where you have to go to, but it's okay. If you gotta sell bed sheets, sell these bed sheets. Do what you have to do. Do it with pride. But at the same time, do not let any job that you do kill your dream. Because the only thing that can make you feel alive is your dream. Very important.
I believe anything is possible, right? I live in the world of possibility. And I also believe that we can accomplish anything with our two hands and just putting in the work with our two hands. And also, you hear this often, but it's really, really true. You gotta find something, if you love what you do and be passionate about what you do and find something that you can be passionate, like, it really helps. You know, it gives you that motivation when you wake up in the morning.
I've enjoyed convincing you that you're nothing, you're never gonna be nothing, you came from nothing, and you'll never get out. You'll never be loved, you'll never be happy, you'll never be blessed, you'll never be free, you'll never get yourself together, you will never be nothing. I've enjoyed attacking him. As long as you stay over there and this stays over here, everything will be all right. But the moment you try to break away from where you came from and take over new territory, that's when all hell breaks loose in your life. What you fighting didn't start with you. Go back in your family. That devil's been in that territory for a long time. He doesn't want to leave the region. That devil isn't interested in you. He's interested in your territory. He's interested in your region. He's after your turf. He's after your stuff. There's something that you have that he wants, and he doesn't care about you. He says, I can use her. I can use a pig. I can use a goat. I can use a dog. I can use her sister. I can use his brother. I can use somebody close to them. It sounds like somebody else in here has some lying voices whispering in your ear, telling you what you can't do and what you can't be and what you can't have. And if you don't do it with me, it can't be done. The devil is a lie. You need to abort every voice that says you can't do it, you can't have it, you can't be it, you'll never get up, you'll never survive. The devil is a lie. Abort that thing. Push it out. Or it ain't gonna be no Holyfield fight dancing around. Oh no, I'm gonna bite you, I'm gonna kick you in your eye. I'll fight like a wild animal. I didn't come this far to let you take my stuff. You have accepted some things as normal and adjusted your way of life to accommodate something that was never meant to be. If you don't possess what's yours, the enemy will possess your land. See, when you start running from one thing, you're gonna keep running from everything. That's why you need to stop running and face whatever you gotta face and deal with whatever you gotta deal with. Because if you run from Pharaoh, you're gonna run from the serpent, you're gonna run from love, you're gonna run from life, you're gonna run from responsibility, you're gonna run. When are you gonna stop running? This is a marching legion of enemies that are coming against you to bring you down. You think I'm gonna roll over and play dead while you take over my stuff? The devil is a lie. I will fight you. I don't mean no fancy fight. I mean I'll claw and kick and scratch and bite your nose. I'll fight you. When he got through messing with your daddy, now he's gonna mess with you. When he got through messing up your sister, now he's after you. But I came to serve notice on the devil today. It stops right here. I'm going to fight for the territory. Somebody who's in a fight Give God a praise right now. And as long as you were a spectator, the devil was all right with that. But the moment you start raising your head and worshiping God, all hell breaks loose. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying to you? You gotta hear this.
If I could get 4 of you to understand, it's just not gonna matter when people, I mean, I love when people, I don't even know what else to tell you. I'm gonna say it very clear. Let's Stefan, get very focused here because I wanna really deliver this with all the drama that it deserves. And I like when people put me down. I get off on when people put me down. Nothing is more interesting to me than to prove all of you wrong. I love the people that think I'm a huckster or I've got some hidden agenda, or I'm not that good, or I won't be that great, or I think too big of myself, or my dad had a liquor store and that's the only reason I'm successful, or I got lucky, or show me, like please, please, please continue to judge me and underestimate me because it's the only driver I have and that's how I'm wired.
I think one of my greatest inspirations or things that I would feed off of basically was just obviously people not believing in the cloud of doubt that kind of I felt hung over my head and wanted to just prove everybody wrong. You know what I mean? I wanted to make it and I was gonna make it regardless of what anybody said.
I mean, there's so many people right now that are not doing what they love because they're worried about what other people think or what other people say, especially your inner family. We've talked about this at length. I'm very passionate about this. I'm so grateful that I don't give a crap what anybody thinks of me. When you're 15 now, when you're 51 or when you're 91, you're gonna be stunned how little you care, how little it mattered. And this includes your parents and your siblings and even your children. This is an intense thing. This is a very intense thing. And at the end of the day, it's not gonna matter. And you have to love yourself first and feel good and complete with yourself first. So as a 15-year-old, I would do what I did as a 15-year-old, which is start building those skills and not listen to your parents and not listen to your teachers and not listen to your friends. Respect it, but don't let anybody impose their way on you. It's you. You're with yourself, and you've got to make yourself happy first.
I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, but in many ways, one of the key factors to legendary success isn't your natural ability. It's not whether you have the right product. It's not whether you're in the right field. It's not whether you've had a blessed background. It's not whether you have the right IQ. I want you to really think about and deconstruct and play with, maybe later tonight in your journal. I want you to deconstruct this idea of confidence. And it seems like a very simple word, but just think about it in your own life. When you have confidence, or we could even call it fire, when you have that fire within you, that confidence, that interior bravery, you almost have this power to do whatever it takes to get your brave vision done. You see, in this world, it's not about, in many ways, your strategy in your business or your ability in your life. It's about this thing called confidence. And we have all had these times in our lives when we are full of confidence. And what other people see as a problem, we simply do see as an opportunity. Other people see it as a stumbling block or a wall, and we see it as a stepping stone or this solution. And so confidence is something that you really want to wire in. Confidence is something you really want to develop. Confidence is a practice. Confidence is a muscle. And like any muscle, the more you focus on it and practice it and train it, the stronger your confidence is going to grow. And I just have to say it again. When you are at a place in your life when there is an ongoing, steady stream of confidence moving through your mindset, moving through your heart set, you do the heroic in your business and you achieve the remarkable in your life.
People really are concerned about what people think about them. It holds them back. You never, ever, ever, ever have. It's not a part of who you are. Is that your DNA, or where did that come from?
I don't know. I just never gave a you know. I mean, yeah, it's just, once you get success in something, I mean, even when look, I failed many times, and you learn from those failures that it doesn't hurt as bad as you thought.
Yeah.
You know, that you can bounce back, and then once you taste some success, you realize it doesn't matter how many times you failed.
Yeah.
Right? You only have to be right one time, then everybody's always an overnight success, or, you know, this came easy to them. You know, you just got to keep on grinding and keep on trying new things. And you know, once you start feeling the success, you realize, look, it doesn't matter what the other people think, other than my customers, other than my, you know, my partners, other than my employees. I care what they think. But, you know, from the outside looking in, I was always just so focused that I just never, I mean, I got distracted from time. I don't want to say never distracted, but, you know, I just didn't want anybody else. I didn't want to think that how people saw me was a reflection of the job I was doing. You know, if my customers were happy, if my stakeholders were happy, I was happy.
Your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet, because you program your supercomputer not to. And I always tell people that your self-talk is important, and it is the program that we will run. And I always tell people to keep it positive, keep it empowering, because your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk, right? And you have to be careful what you say to yourself, because it's this unconscious command. So I would be very careful, like when I get nervous, or I feel like I think some of the most successful people live at the edge of their limits, you know, and they play there also as well. And so whenever I feel in my nervous system, I feel like I can't do it, then I feel like I really must do it, because I feel like how we do anything is how we do everything. Knowledge is power, then learning is your superpower. I had the brain injury when I was 5 years old, and I suffered all through elementary school, all through middle school, all through high school, and so it was like a good 14 years. And a lot of it was, you know, this thing where it's, even as a young age, maybe I was pretending that everything was fine and I'd be struggling. It's kind of like that metaphor of a duck on a pond, and you see it's like all calm and relaxed, but underneath it's just like hustling really, really fast. And people don't always see what's below the iceberg. But for me, I struggled privately. And my parents, because I grew up with these challenges, and I didn't have a lot of people to talk to, because when you feel like you're broken, you don't connect with a lot of people. So on top of everything, I was also painfully shy. I was introverted, but I was also shy and very reserved. And I would always sit in the corner. And I honestly, I've never talked about this publicly, but I ask everybody, you know, what their superpower is. And I feel like that my superpower growing up as an insecure kid who felt like he was broken and taught that by adults, that my superpower was being invisible. Whoa. Like, I didn't want to be seen. I mean, I ultimately did want to be seen, and I want to be heard, like most of us, and accepted and acknowledged, but I didn't want the spotlight. Like I would do, for example, my parents instilled like this work ethic about working hard, and so I would do a book report, and even though it was more difficult for me, and to the point where I'd be like, okay, I have it, I was done. But if a teacher asked me in high school to present it in front of a class, I would actually lie and say I didn't do it. Wow. And I would take a 0, and because I was so terrified of being in front of a group of people, and I would throw it out on the way out of class. I think as they say, what you practice in private, they say you're rewarded for in public, but you have to do the work. And I think that's where I got my work ethic. The challenge is growing up with a brain injury and labeled the boy with a broken brain. I had to work so much harder as everybody else, and you wonder why you're not getting those results. So I think having a powerful mindset, being unstoppable, or just having the ability to go and succeed, whatever success is for you, you have to be growing, because if you're not growing, then you're backsliding, right? But you also need a level of grit, and I think grit, just like growth, is a muscle. It's something that you need to sharpen through challenge, because through the challenge you get all the change that comes from it. I would say that if I'm effective having an impact on stage, and we all have a stage of our life, whether it's on a physical stage or just going through our day, right. That I challenge my grit and my ability to persist. because motive matters, right? And what drives us. I always tell people that there's a success formula. I subscribe to it. I call it H-cubed, that it goes from your head to your heart to your hands. Especially in the personal development space or what they teach about goal setting, you could affirm things in your head or think things in your head or visualize things in your head. But if you're not acting with your hands, there's something that's missing, right? There's an incongruency there. And what I tell people is like, check in with the second H, which is your heart, which is the symbol of like emotion, the energy of motion. And so I feel like that's the fuel that fuels the car that gets you to take action for something. And I do believe what got me through it is figuring out what my why was, right? I don't want people to suffer the way I did. If I could do anything about it, for me, it's like no brain left behind, right? Because I live with that identity for so long. And my message to people, whether it's on stage or on the podcast or anything, is that we are more than what we're demonstrating, that we've been sold this lie, that people are taught through school. Like when I do these demos and I on stage memorize 100 names and words and numbers forwards and backwards, and it appears effortlessly, I always tell people I don't do this to impress you, I do this to express to you what's really possible, because the truth is everyone can do this too, and so much more. Applied towards creativity and focus and flow and problem solving and thinking and really overcoming the biggest challenges of their life and maybe even the world. The challenge is we were taught a lie. We were taught a lie that somehow our intelligence, our potential, our learning, our memory somehow is fixed, or creativity is fixed, or thinking is fixed like our shoe size. And what we've discovered, as you know, more about brain science, in the past 2 decades, we've discovered more than the previous 2,000 years. And what we know is that we're grossly underestimating our own capacity to be able to grow, to be able to contribute, to improve our intelligence and our influence and our impact. And I want to kind of pull the veil behind and just say, hey, this is about transcending. This is about ending the trance that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, that we're not this genius, and telling the truth. And the truth is, we're faster and we're smarter than we think. And not just to be able to memorize things, but be able to really solve significant challenges. And maybe that these challenges that we're going through are the lessons that we need to learn the most. And then some people who learn those lessons feel compelled to be able to share that voice with other people. So it's not just one candle, we just can set things ablaze. My platform is education, and I feel like that growing up, if anyone who's watching this feels like they're overloaded, overwhelmed, and they can't keep up, I always tell people that I don't think it's completely their fault. It's just we all grew up with a 20th century education that prepared us for a 20th century world, which at the turn of the century was working in factories and farms and assembly line. And our education system was mirrored to that. It was assembly line, one size fits all, cookie cutter approach towards education, teaching us things about what to learn, math, history, science, Spanish, but all things we could find online nowadays, right? So what do you need to be able to regurgitate that information for? But it was about what to learn, but not how to learn. And how to think for yourself, how to solve problems, how to be creative, all the things that you can't outsource to like automated or technology, or you can't outsource to Asia. Our value in this world is really our creativity, right? Because that's not something that's easily outsourced. Our ability to create value, be creators, take our vision and turn them into reality, take the invisible and make it visible. But where are the classes on that, right? On how to be able to live your best version of yourself. But I love this because right now classrooms, they don't have 4 walls. I mean, how many people are watching this from how many different countries right now? And you never know who's listening on the other side. And that motivates, inspires the heck out of me. Because what if someone right now is watching this on their smart device and they're in the middle of some like a third world country and they become the next Malala or Elon Musk or what have you. Right. And that's what really juices me. And so education, I feel like a lot of people feel like that when they graduate school, their learning is done. Mm-hmm. In fact, the 2 big dips in cognitive performance is usually when people graduate school, and the second one is when they retire. Like when I'm thinking about when I want to transform or transcend or make a real positive change, I'm looking at all the other areas of ourself. So I'm looking at, for example, our environment. Are people setting up their environment to win? So change doesn't just happen at this level of behavior, but what you have to change the environment. So for example, if you want to stop eating a certain food, it helps to be able to have not have that food in your home, right? So you change the environment. If you want to read more, it helps to help set up your environment where you have the books readily available, where you're going to read it because they perform. How I approach habit change is this area of motivation and this trigger, right? You want to trigger it to help remind you to do the behavior, right? So are you setting up the environment in a way that triggers the behavior that you want? But not only the environment is like the when and the where, but it's also behavior is also the capabilities, because a lot of people want to change a behavior, but they're not training in the abilities. It's exercise when we talk about self-awareness being a superpower, really knowing who we think we are, because if we don't believe that we're a public speaker or we're a great parent or we're a great learner or genius, then we'll never be able to reach our full potential, because that will always be the ceiling that we bump up against. There's certain times of the day it's better to work out. There's better times of the day to be able to make love. There are better times of the day to be able to read, to check email, to ask for a raise. So I would think about like if geniuses find their element, their sweet spot, and they set up their routines and their rituals throughout the day to be able to align with their time when they're most productive, right? If they're not have a lot of energy in the morning, working out is probably not as good as doing it some other time. So the when and the where, and setting up your environment for success, because all your triggers are there that allow them. So I think geniuses set themselves up. So for example, they have their laptop, but they only use their laptop for work, and it's anchored, that's part of their environment, it's anchored to get them into flow states to be able to write or be productive. They don't use their laptop to watch binge on Netflix, right? They have an iPad that they use when they do that, because that's the state that they want to anchor for that, and they don't use that iPad to do work. And so my thing when it comes to success rituals and high performance and making an impact is that we all have that sovereignty, we all have that power, and whenever we put it out there and give it out to somebody else, like we're a thermometer, right? The metaphor I always talk about, it's like we're either thermometers or we're thermostats. And a thermometer, you think about the functionality of it, it just reflects what the environment is giving it, right? It just reflects the temperature and stuff. But a thermostat is different. It sets a standard, it sets a goal, it sets a vision, and the environment changes along with it. And I feel like our happiness, our joy, our level of fulfillment, our success is all dependent on where we put the locus of control. And I feel like we have more power than we realize in these cases. And it's hard because we have to fight media, we have to fight marketing that's always telling us about all the things that are going on in the world. But we live in an abundant universe, right? I mean, we talk about the matrix, which pill people are gonna take. And that determines everything. And every single morning, you determine what color pill you're gonna take. I watch and I listen to your show and maybe a handful of things I read each day, because I need to keep it positive. I want hope and I'm looking for help. I'm looking for inspiration and also instruction.